Well, hello, dear patients! Your favorite doctor here, Dr. Plague, and today I want to welcome you to the brand new Dr. Plague Super Fun Clinic. Trademark pending. It is October, the month of all spooky things creeping in the dark. But that's scary, and we don't want to get scared in our Super Fun Clinic. Not at all. But wait, there is one way that we can enjoy a spooky month without having a heart attack. That's right. Yes. Today, we're going to take a look at some spooky games for people who don't like to get scared. Isn't that just wonderful? Let's get into it. Okay, before we begin, we have to define spooky in order to choose our games. So what is spooky? According to the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of spooky is sinister or ghostly in a way that causes fear and unease. Whoa, easy there, Mr. Dictionary. We don't want to talk about fear or unease here, you know. Otherwise, he might show up. And we don't want that, do we? No! Relax. Nothing bad is going to happen today. But the question is, how do we implement the spooky concept into video games? There are many horror games out there, and each of them implements a different concept. We have the likes of Resident Evil, with its zombie-infested rooms, mutant abominations, and, the worst of all, giant spiders. We also have more psychological horror like Silent Hill and Eternal Darkness. All these games have an oppressive ambience, sometimes even claustrophobic, lack of resources so that you don't feel like the ultimate killing machine, and unsettling situations leading to unexpected challenges. There is also another far uglier side of horror games, which is what I like to call the jump scare horror. As its name implies, these games rely on jump scares to generate a feeling of dread and constant unease. Some big exponents in this type of games are Outlast, Slender the 8 Pages and all its derivates, Poppy Playtime, and the most famous of all, Five Nights at Freddy's. Personally, I think this is the cheapest and dumbest form of horror, basing itself only on loud noises and sudden images appearing on screen, which is why these games have become so popular with YouTubers and streamers, creating cheap content in order to attract a younger audience who enjoys overreactions and short-term thrills. I swear, if I ever found the creator of jump scares, I'd take a knife and... Whoa! This is no place for such disturbing thoughts. We don't want this type of horror games. So are there any other that we can play? Of course! There are multiple games that are all about the classic Halloween scenery and mood, without the disturbing content. We just need some skeletons, bats, pumpkins, cobwebs, and we have our formula for spooky non-horror games. And what a better way to start talking about this type of games than the underrated and greatly overlooked gem known as 40 Winks? 40 Winks is a horror-themed 3D platformer developed by the almighty
Developed by Eurocom Entertainment Software
and published by GT Interactive, and was released on 1999 for the PS1. A Nintendo 64 version was developed as well, but was cancelled soon before release, although a Kickstarter campaign managed to get the N64 version released, as well as a version for PC on Steam. The game tells the story of two siblings trying to stop an old man named Nightcap and his teddy bear, Threadbear. Holy mother of God, that's one hell of a horrible bear, from turning all the people's dreams into nightmares by transforming some fluffy creatures called Winks into Hoodwinks, aka nightmarish monsters, all because he can't get a good night of sleep, so he decides that no one else should. Miserable bastard. Anyway, you start the adventure in your house, which acts as the main hub of the game, containing the entrances to the 6 worlds of the game. Around the house you can find this sentient clock who looks like TT from Diddy Kong Racing, who gives you the tutorial tips for the game. The gameplay is pretty straightforward. There are 3 levels in each world, in which you have to save Winks to be able to finish the level, and also dream keys that are used to access the boss fight for each area. Normally in a game like this, you are required to get a determined number of collectibles in order to advance, but 40 Winks is just on a different level, given that you must get all Winks and Dream Keys in every single level in order to advance. If you don't get every dream key in the world, you're not able to face off against the area boss, which by the way are all threadbare riding a different creature like a giant spider or a dinosaur. In the levels, you can also find some jack-in-the-boxes, which grant you special transformations like a caveman, a ninja, a robot, and a superhero. The game contains spooky stages and classic enemies as well, like Frankenstein monsters, zombies, witches, and, of fucking course, spiders. The stages go from haunted houses to creepy forests, temples, castles, etc. And even though this game doesn't contain any particularly explicit scares, maybe stay away from the underwater levels if you suffer from thalassophobia like me. Overall, this is a great game to get into the spooky mood of Halloween. Yowie wowie! This game had all the elements that make the Halloween season so special. But if you feel like the atmosphere of this game wasn't dark and spooky enough and was way too cartoony for you, no need to worry. Nintendo of all companies has us covered. Back when the Nintendo GameCube was released, we got a surprisingly dark adventure as a release title, one full of spooky spirits and a creepy and claustrophobic atmosphere. That's right, I am talking about the greatly beloved classic, Luigi's Mansion. This game was developed and published by Nintendo in 2001, being released on the same day as the Nintendo GameCube. It was a shock having Luigi star in a game instead of Mario, but this odd choice paid out in the end, and this game was very well received and became a fan favorite franchise. The story follows Luigi, who won a mansion in a contest he never even entered, but once he gets there, he finds out that it's overrun by malicious ghosts, and he is saved and held by Dr. Egad, who gives him the Poltergust 3000, a vacuum cleaner that can suck ghosts. Hey, keep your mind out of the gutter. With this wonderful artifact, Luigi will be able to traverse the mansion relatively safe, looking for Mario, who went missing shortly before Luigi arrived to the mansion. The gameplay is very straightforward, with the little detail that this is a Mario-related game where you can't jump, as Luigi's Mansion is not a platforming game, more of an action-adventure puzzle game, if that even makes sense. You use the left analog stick to move Luigi around, and the C stick to change the direction of the flashlight or the Poltergust 3000. You can also turn off the flashlight, activate the vacuum with R to suck things. Oh, come on, grow up. Use the A button to interact with objects, Y to check your map, and X to search things around using your Game Boy Horror. I love this game. In order to suck up ghosts, you have to blind them with your light and then activate the vacuum and pull the ghosts in your direction. Normal ghosts are easy enough, but others are very sneaky, have short stun times, or straight up require a special method to stun and capture. For example, the father sitting in a rocking chair can only be stunned when yawning, otherwise he will disappear as soon as you turn into his direction. Or the mother brushing her hair in the mirror, you have to pull the curtain so a wind draft distracts her long enough for you to blind her with your flashlight. You can check some hints about special ghosts using your Game Boy Horror to scan their hearts. This game is just dripping with atmosphere. You have old pictures on the walls, dusty furniture, cobwebs, dark rooms with big windows, dark closets. Nintendo surely knows how to build up tension when they want to. It will never go into jump scare mode, but Luigi seems in a constant state of fear and tension when there are ghosts around. Once you capture every ghost in a room, the lights turn back on and Luigi can relax a bit. A funny detail is that he's constantly humming the theme song of the game. I'm guessing to feel a little bit braver. And you can use the A button to call for Mario as well. You also have boss battles in this game against bigger and meaner ghosts, the first of all being against a baby. This has some fucked up implications, you know. Maybe Luigi did hang himself in the attic. We'll never know. If you are looking for a spooky atmosphere with a light-hearted tone as well, Luigi's Mansion will be right up your alley. Now, wasn't that an excellent way to get this spooky season started? But don't worry, there are many more creatures lurking in the dark, waiting for their chance to spook. One of the most representative icons of Halloween are jack-o'-lanterns, the traditional card pumpkins with scary faces and lit candles inside. Damn, that sounds like a fire hazard. Anyway, what if one of those adorable pumpkins could possess a body and go on a rampant adventure to fight off an army of monsters in order to accomplish a mission set by the devil himself? Well, think no more, because that's the premise for our next game, Pumpkin Jack. This is a 3D action-adventure platformer developed by just one person, Nicholas May Saunier, and published by Head Up Games in 2020. Here you take the role of Jack, a revived spirit who takes control of a pumpkin-headed man on Halloween to go on a battle against humanity, especially a vicious wizard on command of Satan himself. And while the story is nothing to write home about, boy, this game is pure atmosphere. The stages and scenery just scream pure Halloween madness. You have your dark forest, abandoned farms and creepy mines filled with skulls, bats, crows, and those dilapidated trees that are always used on spooky sceneries. This is complemented by equally spooky enemies and bosses like skeletons, scarecrows, and ghosts. This all sounds like a rough time, but don't worry, Jack has all the necessary tools in order to face these undead abominations. The combat of the game is pretty simple, as it is very hack and slashy, where you can use different tools such as a shovel, a spear, or a sword to cut down both regular enemies and bosses, as well as a range attack using a crow as a projectile. You also have a role that you use to dodge dangers and enemy attacks, so we could say that this is truly the Dark Souls of Halloween-inspired games. As you traverse the levels, you can find these hidden crow skulls, which you use as a currency in order to get different skins for your character. There are 20 skulls in every level, so it is important to search in every nook and cranny for them. Also hidden in every level is a gramophone, that when you approach it, Jack just dances to his heart's content and, as far as I know, has no other apparent purpose. I just love details like this in games. Apart from platforming and combat, the game has other types of gameplay sections, like when Jack has to remove his head in order to solve a puzzle in a smaller space, like pulling a lever to open a door outside a farmhouse, or using bombs to demolish walls outside a mine. There are also some minecart riding sections that put your skill to the test and bring back those PTSD-induced memories from Donkey Kong Country. However, one thing that I can say I don't like about the game is its camera. I don't know why, but it makes me feel really sick in normal gameplay. And this part where you're walking on tight ledges, holy mother of God, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Leaving motion sickness aside, Pumpkin Jack is an excellent game to get into the spooky mood of October, with good controls, well-designed stages and platforming, and a good sense of humor. Do not let the opportunity slide to try this game out. That was truly something else, but let's set our feet on the ground for a while to regain control of our stomachal activity. When you think about spooky movies, many come to mind, like Frankenweenie, Hocus Pocus, The Nightmare Before Christmas, which actually has a video game called Oogie's Revenge, but I have no way of playing it at the moment, so we're gonna have to let it pass for now, etc. There's also this little movie by Disney called The Haunted Mansion, but does it have a game? Well, yes and no. There is a game called The Haunted Mansion, but it is based on the Disney ride instead, given that the game was released before the movie. Such a shame that we won't get to see Eddie Murphy running around a dilapidated mansion fighting spirits, but oh well, let's see what we can find in this adventure. This game was published by TDQ Mediactive and developed by High Voltage Software, a very prolific studio behind some amazing games like Lego Racers, no, not that one, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, The Conduit, and Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden, one of my favorite strategy games of all time. Well, with that type of resume, this game surely must be wonderful. The Haunted Mansion tells the story of Ezekiel Holloway, an aspiring writer who takes a job as a caretaker for a mansion from a misleading newspaper advertisement and arrives to find an abandoned place full of ghosts and evil spirits. Sounds familiar? Turns out that an evil spirit known as Atticus Storm enslaved the ghosts in the mansion to serve his wills. Now Zeke has to rescue 999 souls in order to defeat Atticus and foil his plans of undead world domination. And how are you going to carry out this monumental task? With your beacon of souls, of course, a magic lantern capable of sucking spirits and also shooting balls of magic light. In case you haven't noticed already, this game has a lot of similarities with Luigi's Mansion in both atmosphere and ghost catching premise. In order to explore the mansion, 6 needs an determinate number of souls to open doors leading to different parts of the mansion. Each room has a specific purpose and a puzzle to solve. For example, one room has a pool table, and once you approach it, you're suddenly shrunk down and have to lead a ghostly hand to hit the billiard balls into the pockets in order to escape the puzzle. Or the kitchen, where plates are constantly being thrown at you and you have to make them hit wine bottles in order to make a trail of alcohol towards the fireplace and light up the room. However, this game has differentiating elements, such as the ability to shoot magic balls from your beacon and also jump. In many rooms, the puzzles will require some type of platforming challenge, such as floating books or bookcases. There are also different enemies apart from ghosts, such as gigantic fucking spiders. Why does it always have to be fucking spiders? There's also the Banshee, which has a very disturbing cutscene once you encounter her for the first time. Holy shit! That's a jump scare right there. While traversing some parts of the mansion, there are also barricaded doors which also jump scare the living shit out of you with zombie hands. And even though I hate jump scares, these little details make the mansion feel alive. In this game you don't have health in the traditional sense. Instead you have a bravery meter, and it depletes every time Zeke comes into contact with a ghoul or monster and gets scared. Another nice detail are the loading screens, which are mostly pictures and scenery that gradually morph into something terrifying. Look, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but is it just me or is the camera in this game aggravatingly dissing? By this point, I feel like I can't play more than an hour or else I'm going to puke all over the carpet. Even though this game is not really that special, it does have its charm, with a nice atmosphere and inventive puzzles. Okay, I'm getting a little dizzy now. Better move on to something else. Maybe if I eat some candy? Yes, dear patients, do you like candy? Do you like trick-or-treating? In that case, maybe this game can fill us up with Halloween spooky joy, remembering all the good times running around the neighborhood in our costumes, knocking on doors and asking for candies on the neighbors' houses. Only sometimes they didn't give candies but fruits or healthy treats that tasted like ass, and not the good kind of ass. Those people have a special place reserved in hell, and I'd be more than glad to take them there. Whoa! That was not nice! Let's forget about that and take a look at our last game for today, Spirits and Spells. Also known as Castle Win in Europe, this is a 3D platformer developed by Callisto Entertainment for the PS2 and then ported to the GameCube by Wanadu Edition. The game follows Alicia and Greg, two children dressed up as a witch and a devil respectively, who go trick-or-treating in a forest with some friends, and when they finally reach a house, their friends get turned into stone by a boogeyman, so now they must go on an adventure to rescue their petrified friends. Now that's what I call a Halloween-themed game. I'm sure we are going to have one hell of a time with this game. Okay, stop! It wasn't that funny, jeez. The story is told to us by using an old book, which really reminded me of the PS1 Harry Potter games, and that is always a good sign. Let's get into the adventure proper and... Oh my god, this game looks horrible! I'm not sure if it had something to do with the settings of my capture card, but this game looks very fucking dark. I can assure you that it didn't look like that on my TV while I was playing. Oh well, graphics are not always a measure for quality, but how does the game play? It's horrible! The controls in this game are so damn stiff. You have a button to jump, one to attack, and another to change your character. And with this being a platform game, having stiff controls for jumping and attacking is not good. Sometimes you can miss the enemies because the hit detection is a little bit messed up. You also have a determinate number of times you can switch characters depending on the number of collectibles you have gathered throughout the level. Why is this even a thing? See, there are two types of floating pumpkins that you can find in the levels. a red one and a blue one, which indicates the character you must use to activate them. The blue pumpkins used by Alicia freeze the water, and the red ones used by Greg melt stuff or activate fires. So, if you don't have a character change available, you're screwed if you come across the opposite pumpkin. You're not getting any further in the level. And what can you tell us about the levels, Mr. Doctor? You may ask. And well, the levels in this game are plain and dumb. You have your normal corridor platformer parts of the level and the side-scrolling parts as well. The game features all classic environments for a Halloween-themed game like dark forests, caves, swamps, cemeteries, castles, etc. But they are very bland and uneventful, only partially filled with standard enemies like skeletons, goblins, witches, and ghosts, as well as platforming challenges that are extremely frustrating due to the poor controls and the camera. The camera moves with the character when you jump and... Excuse me, I can't take the motion sickness anymore. The music has that mischievous and spooky vibe, but it's not memorable enough to say it's actually good. I couldn't play this game for more than an hour, and apart from the motion sickness, I must mention the puzzle that broke the doctor's back. There's this part in level 5 where you come across some gigantic and horrible spiders who, by the looks of it, must carry you across a large gap. But no matter how I try to approach the gigantic monsters, they always kill me. I got multiple game overs on this part, until it came to my mind trying to switch characters to Alicia and... Yes, turns out this was the correct way to do it. And how is the player supposed to figure that out? Because the platform on the spider's body is blue. Are you fucking kidding me? This is impossible. How can a game be this bad? I promised to bring only quality games for the spooky season. I have failed you. I have unleashed the evil spirits of this horrible game into this world. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. What? Oh, you're right. You're right. There's still a solution, my dear patients. A salvation. If you want to be saved from all these spirits and ghouls, all you have to do is... Won't you look at the time? It seems like our show is over for today, my dear patients. Don't worry, we'll be back again soon to have more fun together. And remember, one game a day keeps the plague doctor away. And if you want to be safe from all the dangers and scares that haunt around at night, it's very simple. All you have to do is let me in. Let me in. Let me in.